Have you noticed that the nutrition facts label changed recently here in the United States? Well, I sure noticed. I'm Stephanie Laska. I'm the author and creator of Dirty Lazy Keto, and I lost 140 pounds by paying attention to nutrition labels. So any kind of change, it freaks me out, and I want to make sure I know what's going on. So why don't we first, together, take a look at the old nutrition label, make sure everybody knows how to calculate net carbs, and then we'll move on to compare it to the new nutrition label, and I'll point out any kind of changes, differences, or updates that have taken place. So put your glasses on. I've got mine on here. Take a look at how many net carbs are in this low-carb protein bar. And if you can see clearly, it is 23 grams, and I'm in the first column here. So 23 grams of carbohydrate, and then we're going to go ahead and subtract the dietary fiber, which for this bar is 23, take away 15 grams. So the fiber is 15, that's subtracted. Now we're going to keep going to see, are there any sugar alcohols? Well, yes, there are. I see erythritol at 4 grams, so we're going to subtract that too. Now that's the only math required with Dirty Lazy Keto. Can you do it? If you know the answer, put it in the comments. But basically 23 grams, subtract 15, subtract 4 is going to give you a grand total of 4 grams of net carbs for this protein bar. Okay. Easy enough, right? Well, what happened with the changes then? Why did the USDA make so many changes? Well, in 2020, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, they made some important changes to the label because they want to make it more up to date. There were some things not so good about it. So sadly for us carb conscious keto followers, they didn't call us, hello, they decided not to include net carbs on the label. I know, they really should. But they did kind of come close. The FDA made a change for the new label where they are going to add added sugar. Okay, the FDA is finally getting on board with the low sugar, low carb train. I like that. Well, what else is new besides just adding the added sugar? Anything? Yes. Yes, 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 yes. The biggest change that you are going to see is serving size. Well, I shouldn't say the biggest. There's quite a few changes, but one of them is about serving size. Like I'm going to take this can of soda, for example. In the olden days, on the old label, serving size was really small, like not a normal serving size. They have updated that, so that way it makes more sense for what people actually drink. So instead of an 8-ounce serving size, no one does that. We drink a whole can of soda. So now the serving size keeps that in mind, and now it's 12 fluid ounces for the serving size for this particular product. So I think that's pretty good. Wouldn't you agree? Are you getting confused? No. Okay, I'll slow down. Well, I want to emphasize that on the new nutrition label, let's try another product to make it a little bit easier. Now I'm going to use a non-keto friendly item. I know, she's crazy. But this is cinnamon graham crackers, so don't get excited. These are not keto friendly. But I want to show you the nutrition label just because it's a little bit larger and easier to see than a can of soda. Okay, so maybe you can zoom in there, put your glasses on. All right, and you can see here that this is new and the serving size is in bold font. You see that? It's a little bit easier to read than the old serving size. Let me compare this back to the Quest bars from Costco. Do you see how the serving size, when you put it side by side, do you see how the serving size, one is in bold and one isn't? One is in small font and one is in larger font. So that's pretty helpful, I think. Wouldn't you agree? Do you notice anything else different? You might notice I have little arrows with the answer. So if you want to cheat, you can use that. Okay, so take a look at where my arrows are pointing, but you'll see here not only is the serving size larger, not only is it in bold font and also in a more realistic amount of serving size, you'll also notice that the calories are much bigger. Now I don't count calories, I just do net carbs. But I think it is important to know because there's some foods where you think, well, it's so good, I'm just going to eat it all. It's low in net carbs, like nuts, for example. But then when you take a look at the calories, you might kind of freak out and say, oh, maybe I need to slow my roll, right? Some other little changes that you might notice. We talked about how they're going to highlight including added sugars. Okay? And that way you can see if the manufacturer is actually pouring legit sugar into your food. Now, I would not be too happy about that. So I appreciate them spelling that out. Is that helpful? Okay. I know you were hoping I was going to tell you to have graham crackers. Not so much. Well, you'll also notice the serving size, though. It's going in the right direction. This one says a serving size is 2 full cracker sheets. And it has the little grams kind of in small, like 31 grams. In the olden days, a lot of desserts and kind of sneaky foods, they wouldn't tell you how much of the food very clearly. They'd be a little bit sneaky. They would say like, oh, a serving of graham cracker is 31 grams. And you're all, what? Right? So that's actually a little bit helpful, I think. So thank you, FDA. Gold star to you. So the much malaligned serving size is finally getting an overhaul. We appreciate that. We appreciate that serving sizes of beer and soda have been bumped. We discussed that. It's going from 8 ounces to 12 ounces, which is the size of a typical can. But I have to tell you guys, Doritos, they didn't get the memo. Doritos still thinks that 12 chips is a serving. Not going to happen. All right, well, the nutrition information calculator for food has been simplified, and I will provide a link so that you can explore this in detail. But again, gone is that misuse of measurements for single serving sizes like desserts. You know, the old serving size might have been 85 grams. Now it's 2/3 cup. That's a little bit easier for most of us to handle. Additionally, I want to move on to another product. This is a new nutrition label as well. All the rest I'm going to show today are new. This is a Kind bar, and they're lower in carb. Some people still enjoy them on Dirty Lazy Keto. And I want to point out to you some changes. You know, of course, we talked about the serving size, the calories, the bold font, the larger font, the more realistic serving size. And we talked about the added sugar being called out and the sugar alcohol, if there is any. But way here at the bottom, I'm going to zoom in so you can see. This is another change in the USDA's nutrition label, right here in this bottom section. You may never have even seen that. I don't know. Well, here's the deal. Like some nutrients from the old label, they got to graduate, and they're no longer required to be on the label. So, for example, vitamin A and C, you're not going to see those highlighted anymore. The FDA determined that the average American was not having trouble with vitamin A or vitamin C. There was no deficiency, so they weren't like freaking out about it. However, there were 2 new nutrients that the FDA is a little worried about. And so they've decided to add those to the nutrition label here at the bottom and call those out. Are you curious what they are? 2 of the ones I found most interesting, according to the research that I've done, is vitamin D and potassium. The FDA has determined that vitamin D and potassium are things Americans are not getting enough of. So we want to watch that. Vitamin D is basically helps with calcium, bone health, very important. Potassium, all the research is showing it's critical to lower blood pressure. You'd agree, those are important. So now you're going to be able to see if the product you're eating has those nutrients and at what level. And additionally, those little percentages that no one's ever looked at ever in the history of man, those have been updated as well. Is this too boring, or is this kind of interesting? I think it's interesting, personally. Okay, well, in some changes, you might see, just to make it more crazy, you might see a new nutrition label actually have 2 columns. Seriously, I'm trying to go slow so you don't freak out. But with the 2 columns, I think I have something to show you with 2 columns. Let's see here. With 2 columns, does anyone like these? These are the Russell Stover sugar-free, made with stevia, little peanut butter cups. So yummy on Dirty Keto, right? But in this nutrition label, this is a new nutrition label. I'm going to zoom in and show you. There's 2 columns. Now, what is up with that? Is that going to stress you out? I don't want it to stress you out. I'm going to tell you what that means, okay? So this is a new part of the 2020 FDA nutrition label, and they want to have it broken out if you were to have a single serving, which in this case would be 2 pieces of candy or 34 grams, or per container. Oh my goodness. This I love about the FDA. They finally have realized that Americans, we don't tend to open up a little bag of candy and have a serving size. No, we don't. Just like with Doritos, most of us think this is so yummy, I'm going to eat it all, right? And we kind of need to know the nutrition information if you were to eat the whole package. I'm not recommending that. No, I'm not. I definitely am not. I think you might be in some serious tummy ache if you did. However, I want to go over why they did this and how you might calculate your net carbs, knowing that there's 2 columns, okay? So I want to kind of check for understanding. So again, let's practice calculating net carbs with this new model, this new nutrition label, knowing that there's 2 columns. We're not going to stress out. Easy math. Okay, we can do it. I promise. All right. So first of all, I'm going to try to hold it up so you can see. 2 pieces has how many carbohydrates? Hopefully you can see, and type in the comments too if you're following along. 2 pieces has 18 grams. Now, as you know from reading all of my Dirty Lazy Keto books, right? The No Time to Cook cookbook has this direction. The Dirt Cheap cookbook tells you how to do this, right? This is not new information. The Dirty Lazy Keto original cookbook tells you how to do this. Even the Get Started Losing Weight While Breaking All the Rules book has this information in it. So all the books tell you how to do this. So don't freak out. You take the amount of carbohydrates listed. You subtract any amount of fiber. If there's no fiber, you don't get to subtract anything. And then you subtract any sugar alcohols, if there are any. So if you're looking at this package, how many sugar alcohols do you see in the first column? Anyone? I feel like I'm a teacher today. The answer is 15. So you're going to subtract 15 grams of sugar alcohol. So that's simple math. 18 take away 15 gives you an answer of gold star if you said 3 grams of net carbs. Now what happens if you eat the whole bag? The whole bag, then what happens? All right, let's do that math. So go to the second column. Hopefully you can see it okay. For the whole bag would have 44 grams of carbohydrates. You're going to subtract 2 grams of fiber and subtract 37, holy moly, 37 grams of sugar alcohol. Now how much complicated math is that? It's not that bad. 44 take away 2 take away 37 equals dun, 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 5 grams of net carbs for the whole bag. Not recommending that, just helping you try to figure it out. Is that helpful? Should I offer you another quiz question to see if you can get it right? Let's check for understanding. Just when you think you got it, then you're like, oh, she gives me a harder one. All right, let's go with almond flour. This is a product that I use quite a bit, also from Costco. And I'm going to show you the nutrition label. It's the new one. So again, you're going to notice all the new things, the giant calories, the very big serving size quarter cup. You can see that. And how many grams of carbohydrate are listed? The answer is 5. Very good. Now, is there any fiber to subtract? Can you see that? The fiber is going to be 3 to subtract. And now, is there any sugar alcohol? I'm going to warn you, this is a trick question. It's a trick question. Is there any sugar alcohol? No. No, there's not. Trick question. What does it say, though, below fiber? It says total sugars. Huh. It says total sugars includes 0 grams of added sugars. What does that mean? Do you have an answer or an idea? Here's the thing. This is a new part of the nutrition label. When it says total sugars or includes added sugars, we're not talking about sugar alcohol that you get to subtract. That is sad. I understand. I get this email all the time. People are like, oh, do I get to subtract that? I'm like, no, that's real sugar. That's the stuff we're not trying to eat. That's the whole point of Dirty Lazy Keto, is to cut out all that refined sugars and carbohydrates. So when you see total sugars or includes 0 grams added sugar, that stays. I'm so sorry. So if you were to calculate the net carbs of this almond flour from Costco, using the information that I've taught you today, the information you've read about in all of my books, it's the same way. Just focus on those 3 things that we talked about. First, do carbohydrate, subtract fiber, and subtract if any sugar alcohols are present. So what would the answer be? Anyone? The answer would be 2. So 2 grams of net carbs per 1/4 cup serving size. Did you get it right? Good job. All right. So that was just too easy. Are you just having a good time? You're like, okay, yeah, I get it. Give me a hard one, Stephanie. Okay, I'll give you a hard one. Just when we thought we had it all perfectly figured out, now we have a little complication. This is my friend allulose. I'm going to show you a product that contains allulose, which is a sugar alcohol. And I did a whole podcast on allulose recently if you'd like to learn more. But allulose is a artificial sweetener. I don't know if I should use the word artificial, but it is. Some people say it's natural, yada, yada, yada. Whatever. However you want to describe it, here's the thing with allulose and any product that contains allulose. There's a bunch of them. Allulose is not a sugar alcohol, so it's not subtracted. Did you hear me? Allulose is not a sugar alcohol, so it's not subtracted. But it's like this weird loophole in the vortex of eating where it doesn't count in your net carbs. So even though you see the nutrition label here, which says it has 0 calories, and it has, how many carbs? Can you see that? 4. Has 4 grams of carbohydrate. There's no sugar alcohol to subtract, and there's no fiber to subtract either, making it very confusing. I'm just going to admit it, allulose is tricky. Whenever you see allulose in a product, that means all your instructions about calculating net carbs, they're kind of out the window. I'm sorry that that happened. Just to prove that not everybody knows what they're doing when it comes to allulose and sugar alcohols, I want to talk about a last example. This is WonderWorks keto-friendly cereal. I picked this up at Walmart. Now, everybody's in love with this stuff. They're like, this is amazing. Oh my goodness, what's happening with this stuff? Here is the nutrition label. It's so tricky. So first of all, we have the 2-column style. So remember, that's either per serving or per the whole bag. But in this example, the second column is with milk. So with a cup of skim milk. So we're going to only focus on the first column, which is, dang it, I hate being old. First column is a cup, a serving size of the cereal. And if you look at the nutritional information there, you can see that it has 16 grams of carbs. The dietary fiber is 4 grams, so we're going to subtract that. And they've kindly described what kind of fiber, soluble and insoluble. That's just a description of the fiber. You don't subtract it twice, 3 times the lady. You just do fiber, just like we learned in the books. Here's something interesting though. Total sugars, 1 gram. Do you get to subtract that? Trick question. No, you don't. All right, so by my calculations, if I'm looking at this box, I would go 16, take away 4, and I would get to 12. Is that what you got to? Anyone else got to 12? I know, right? So by my calculations, according to everything I've ever learned, it should be 12 grams of net carbs per 1 cup serving. But if you look on the front of the cereal box, way here at the bottom, they get all crazy and tell you otherwise. Now that's not fair. They're kind of messing things up. And the reason why is the FDA did not recognize allulose as a sugar alcohol. It's got its own little set of rules. So the box put it right here. It says that a serving size is 3 grams of net carbs, which is 16 total net carbs. Take away 4 fibers, 5 sugar alcohols, and 4 grams of allulose. I am not sure where they got this information, to be honest with you. I'm wondering, is this a loophole or is it an error? I don't know. So you know what I did? I got my phone out, and I think we should call. Let's call General Mills and ask them, because I think people are confused and we want to know the truth. So here's the phone number right here on the side of the box. And let's call up our friends at General Mills and let's ask them, because maybe they can explain why the nutrition label is not correct. Let's stay on the phone. All right. Is it ringing?
Thank you for calling General Mills. For
Okay.
information about General Mills Box Tops for Education program, please press 1.
No.
If you are calling about a General Mills product, please remain on the line.
Okay.
Thank you.
We will. Thank you. Thanks so much for taking my call. My name is Stephanie Laska, and I have a question about one of your products. It's the delicious WonderWorks keto-friendly cereal, chocolate.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the nutrition label, and I'm very familiar with the new guidelines and what's called out. So I understand that allulose is not called out as a sugar alcohol because it's not a sugar alcohol. But I do see that the product contains sugar alcohol because it says so on the cover of the package. So why isn't that on the nutrition label?
Okay, let me just...
Did I stump you? Okay.
No, the sugar part is all new to me. So, okay, here it is. Sugar alcohol is a term that the FDA requires companies to use. It is a term used for a combination of artificial sweeteners, but it doesn't tell me why it's not on the nutrition fact.
Well, I know allulose is not technically a sugar alcohol. That's why it's not listed on the nutrition information.
Okay.
However, I do know in the ingredient list, it looks like it's the third ingredient, erythritol. That is a sugar alcohol.
Right.
So technically that should be called out and put on the nutrition label, right?
Yes, it should be. Yes.
It should be.
So other people will know what it is.
Right. So
Yeah,
it's not there. On the front of the box of the cereal, it does say 5 grams sugar alcohol. So in like little teeny tiny letters, it does say that on the box on the front, and it also says 4 grams allulose. So I understand the allulose, what to do with that. So I'm very confused. It says sugar alcohol on the front of the box, but not on the nutrition label.
Okay. So would you want me to make a suggestion for them to put it on the nutritional part
Yes.
of the box?
I think that consumers want to know, right, if there's sugar alcohols inside of a product. I know I do.
Right.
That would be really helpful.
Well, yeah, especially when it comes to people that say if they have some type of a disease and they cannot, like I had a consumer that called in about the same issue but different product.
Interesting.
But it was not mentioned on the package.
What product was it? Are you able to tell me?
I don't really remember.
Okay.
But I know she has liver problems.
Oh. Well, plus, in general, some people
Yeah.
can't tolerate sugar alcohols. You know, some people get a lot of gastrointestinal issues, headaches, diarrhea, all sorts of terrible things. So
Exactly.
if you can make that suggestion, that would be great, because it's my understanding that that's part of the new nutrition guidelines, that it's supposed to be called out specifically. Interesting.
Right. Yes, I will absolutely do that.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for taking my call. That was fun.
Space it right here. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can do that.
Great. Thank you so
Okay.
much. And I hope this information was helpful to you. Was it? Did you learn anything new? I don't want you to get panicked. I don't want you to stress out about this whole added sugar thing or the 2 columns or the changes in the nutrients added at the bottom. I don't want you to get confused when they say added sugar. Just stick to the basics, okay? Stick to what I taught you today. And if you need to refer back to, like I said, how to read a nutrition label is the same information that you've read about in the Get Started book, or in the Dirty Lazy Keto cookbook, or in the Dirt Cheap cookbook, or even in the Dirty Lazy Keto No Time to Cook cookbook. All the Dirty Lazy Keto books explain how to calculate the net carbs. So don't freak out. This is simple math. Again, you're just looking at the total grams of carbohydrate per serving, subtracting the fiber, subtracting sugar alcohols, if any of either of those. And that amount is your net carbs. Simple. The jury is still out on allulose and the cereal and what's going on there, but just be wary when you're purchasing products that have, lots of different ingredients that the FDA isn't calling out. But in the meanwhile, you've got all the information you need. You can do this. I'm here to help you. Dirty Lazy Keto is the way to go. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope that you give the video a thumbs up and, of course, make a comment and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next week. I just wanted to say thank you for listening. I appreciate your support. This is a community, Dirty Lazy Keto. We have to help each other. We're in this together, my friends. It's not easy, is it? We gotta support one another. So if you found today's video to be helpful, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and then subscribe to the Dirty Lazy Keto YouTube channel. Turn on your notifications so you'll never miss an update. You can also find me on Instagram at Dirty Lazy Keto. And for more information about any of my support groups or any of my books, you can always go to dirtylazyketo.com for more information. I'm here to support you. I'm here to help. I know you can do it.